Hello everyone, just a quick video here going to discuss some of the advances in astronomy that have happened since some of the early days up until now. Just briefly touching on a few of the key technologies in the early parts of it and where we're at today. So right back at the beginning of astronomy, as we saw in the previous video, the earliest astronomers just really looked up at the sky, started writing things down when they were able to, discussing the differences that they saw and starting to record those patterns. Once they were able to start building and creating different tools, that helped track the passage of these objects up in the sky, these celestial objects. Things like the pyramids or more technical tools to track that motion. But this really didn't change until around the early 1600s, 1608, when a Dutch glasses manufacturer named Hans Lippershey applied for the first patent for a telescope. So he developed this idea of using the same lenses that he would make glasses out of, put them together to be able to see a longer distance. And at that point in time, the idea of this telescope, this device to actually allow us to see things that are further away and see them bigger and clearer, revolutionized astronomy. People could see more than they ever did before. He generally doesn't get the credit though, Lippershey. The person who does get the credit was Galileo Galilei. He developed a better model of telescope than what Lippershey originally did. Lippershey didn't actually get his patent. He applied for the copyright on it, basically. He wasn't awarded that because he didn't do a good job with it. Galileo heard about his idea and took the idea, made it better, made it work, and actually is generally given the credit. It helps that he was already well known and very famous, but he's the one who typically gets the credit for inventing the telescope as we know it today. So as telescopes spread out, people started using them, telescopes got better, more and more discoveries were made about space. One of the early things that was discovered was the rings of Saturn. That wasn't known about until the telescope was developed. And like I say, as telescopes got better, the technology improved, people could see things that were further away, like Uranus, discovered in 1781, Neptune in 1846. For most of the history of astronomy, we just relied on visible light. We used our eyes with a tool to help us out, the telescope, but it was things that we could see with our own eyes. As science generally progressed and our knowledge of other areas of observation became more and more possible, we were then able to use different types of radiation, different types of light to be able to detect different objects up in space. So these days, most of the astronomy is not done in visible light. We don't use visible light in anywhere near as much as these other forms. Infrared astronomy is very popular. Radio astronomy is a huge part of the astronomical universe. Things in ultraviolet is quite significant, but the real extreme ends of it, of X-ray astronomy and even the very beginnings of gamma ray astronomy, are starting to take place. This is something that we'll look at in a bit more detail later on when we learn what types of radiation are given off by different types of objects and what the difference between these things actually are. So, as was mentioned in the previous slide, a lot of the technological development helps those really cutting-edge types of science, the extremes of science, the X-ray, the gamma ray, the radio astronomy. But one of the other real benefits of technological improvement is it makes it more affordable for everyday people to get into parts of this technology. Telescopes are no longer something that's only available to universities or corporations or really, really rich individuals. They are now something that's affordable to normal people. Previously, telescopes that would have been tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars, things that you can attach to an object and track it automatically and maintain the same position in the sky. You can pick these things up for a few $100s now. Something like this one, this would be just less than $1,000, capable of imaging various different galaxies, tracking objects automatically. And you can actually get a pretty decent telescope that you can actually pick up a galaxy for about $100, a bit less than $100 from some places. So the technology is available to everybody. You can go get this and do this kind of astronomy yourself. So it's started as the earliest science where people could just look up at the sky themselves and start writing things down. It's now come full circle. That this is now a science that you can be involved with. You can go and do this in your own house, in your own time. All right, that's it for today. So we'll cover off some new ideas next time. Thank you.